So today what we're going to do is we're going to make clay cupcakes. So we're going to do this using slab technique, which means we roll out a slab of clay. So first you need a piece of cloth as a placemat, and then we're going to use these pencils so that the clay is as thick as the pencils and not any thinner. And you roll it out until the clay is as thick as the pencil and it doesn't roll out anymore. That's how you know that it is just right. Now if it gets so long that your roller isn't rolling over the pencils anymore, then you can cut that off. So see how that's not fitting? So I'm just going to cut that in half so that it is rolling like tracks onto the clay. Okay, so once it's rolled out and your roller is just on the pencils like tracks and not rolling your clay out anymore, you're going to take these stencils and cut out the shapes. And I'll put how many shapes you need on the board, but we need 1 square and 2 rectangles and 2 triangles. And try to line them right up. Save your scraps because we're going to need those later. If you don't have quite enough clay, you can take your clay scraps and squish them up. Now squish them up really good, lots and lots, and push them down onto the table so there's no air pockets. If there is an air pocket though, you can just pop it with your cutting tool. Okay, now it's time to start assembling the cake. So we're going to get a plate so that we can assemble it on the plate. The first thing is going to be one of the triangles, and you're going to use a fork and some slip, and you're going to score it all up by adding these little hash marks, and then just with your finger you can put the slip on the clay. You want to put a lot of slip on there, and then you're going to take one of the rectangles and you're going to score 3 of the sides, 3 of the edges there. Lay it along the long part of the triangle. Score 3 of the edges here. And lots of slip so that you can squish that corner of the triangle together and smooth it out. And then we're going to have the square be the back part of our cake slice or a pie slice. Be sure to add slip. Be sure that those edges are scored. It's very important to score your clay as well. Then smush them gently together and smooth out those edges. And then for the top of our cake, we're going to use this cool little cutting tool to trim the thickness of the edges so that it will sit inside of our cake with that little lip so that it will sit like a lid and be nice and flat, but not just fall off. Now we do not want to score or slip the edges of the top. Now it's time to decorate. Now I'm going to add some slip on, and I'm going to show you how we're going to make the texture of a squishy cake. We're going to do this with a toothbrush just by tapping the edge of the toothbrush. And see how I'm holding it on the inside with one hand so that I give it support, and just give it that spongy texture. And then with that tool I can just draw a line so that it looks like the frosting. Okay, so on the other side I'm going to show you how we're going to make a fruit pie. So I'm going to make some kind of berry pie. Blueberries, strawberries, blackberries, there's lots of kinds of berry pie. You could do the same with bananas and make them look more like ovals, or you could do apples and make it look like the apple shape. But for berries, you just roll them up and cut them in half. You don't want the full berry sticking out, just half of the berry sticking out, because then that implies that the rest of the berry is in the pie. So after I've cut my little berries in half, I'm going to go ahead and score this whole area. That way I'll have that freedom to put my berries wherever I want. And then I'm going to put slip in that whole area, and then that will look like the gooey glaze that goes in a pie. Score my berries, my little half spheres, and just stick them on. And I don't have to fill the entire thing up, and certainly not in nice neat rows, because when cake filling is on a plate, it's just sort of falling out a little bit when that pie filling is on a plate. So I just squish it on there, and I make sure that my pie stays nice and straight, giving it support in the back. Add some more pie filling. And then when I'm all done, I'm going to get a tissue, lay it in, and lay my lid on top of that tissue. That way my cake and the lid for my cake don't glue together on accident, because if they did, then that would create a giant air pocket. For the top of my cake or my pie, I'm going to, if it's a cake, you can add frosting with lots of slip and give it that frosting texture. Or if it's a pie, you could just add some pie lines to it. To give it that frosting texture, I just tap it and pull it up to give it that frosting texture. And then we are all done. Wrap your tools up in your placemat for cleanup. And then we'll put the clay in the clay recycling and our project in the drying rack.